In this video, let me show you how you can start building your own web wallet using Moralis. And what you would do is you'd be able to log in or register your user with MetaMask, have them sign in. And once they are signed in, they'll be able to have a look at their transactions, their balances, their NFTs. But more importantly, this video is going to take a look at how they can transfer tokens between wallets and also transfer ERC20 as well as native balances. So I'll give you an example. With this particular function here from Moralis, we will be able to transfer some ether. So I'm logged into a Rinkeby account with 6 ETH in there, and I'm going to transfer some tokens to this particular address here, which I've just saved in the app. Let's transfer 1 ETH, and we'll just press go. Functionality will already take care of everything behind the scenes. We can open up our MetaMask. We'll see that there is a pending transaction of 1 ETH. It might take a second or two for that transaction to go through, but when it does, we're going to find that this particular account will go up by 1 ETH. It's currently 5.82 at the moment, and the previous one was 6.65. Now it's saying transferring 1 ETH has happened. Please allow some time to process your transaction. It's just a simple alert that we've coded into this app. So we'll come back to that in a moment. And the other example would be this one here, which is to transfer ERC20 tokens. Now, the function behind the scenes requires some information which you may or may not know. For example, how many decimals does the ERC token actually have, the ERC20 token? And also, what's the ERC20 token contract address? Because a lot of people might not know that. So what we want to do is just build simple functionality for the user where you probably don't even need to see these two fields. You just need to see how many tokens do you want to transfer, what's the address, and then you just, in your balances, you choose whichever token you want to transfer. So for example, let's say this one Chainlink token here, 145, it says ETH at the moment, but we'll ignore that. That's just something that's incorrect from the code. We'll correct that in a moment. But if you just click on, for example, over here, transfer link, it will transfer the details into this anyway. So you don't even need to see this field. But it will say that that particular token has 18 decimals. That's the contract address. So let's put that in here. And then you just choose how many you want to transfer. So there's 145 in there at the moment. So let's transfer, I don't know, 14. And we'll transfer it to that same address that we just used a moment ago. Press go. Loads up MetaMask. It asks you to sign the transaction. You then confirm the transaction, and once that block has been mined, you will find that it will have transferred through. Now, looking in our balances here, you can already see that the transfer we did for ETH has gone through. So that was now gone up by, down by 1 ETH, and the other account would have changed as well. It may well have actually just transferred that ETH as well. So if I just refresh the app, we were on 145 ETH, and let's see if that did go through. And there you go. So it's already gone through. So 131 now, and the other account would have gone up by 14. So that is some of the functionality for what we're going to be sharing with you in this particular video. Okay, so let's hop over to the HTML first of all. Now, the majority of this particular code has been taken from Bootstrap. It was a simple Bootstrap sign-in template that we took and just built around. So the majority of this stuff is just as it was when it was downloaded from the Bootstrap website, but we changed some of the fields. And the way that the sign-up form looks like is this. So you just simply log in or register your user. So that is the first page. The second page is the dashboard. So once you have logged in a user and authenticated them, they will be able to go straight to this dashboard. They have to be logged in to be able to see this dashboard. Otherwise, it will take them back to that sign-in page. And you just simply choose an option down the left-hand side. This particular dashboard page has a number of different functions assigned to it. And so if we take a look on the dashboard HTML, again, this was a Bootstrap template. It was the dashboard template from the Bootstrap site. So a lot of this stuff is from that template. I haven't hollowed that out. We have in here the most important part, which is connecting up our SDK to Moralis. We also then need to have all of our fields and buttons and links in our HTML, which we can reference in our JavaScript a little bit later, but nothing too complicated is in here, apart from just connecting up a few of the required JavaScript files to make the template work. So in the JavaScript, the main part here is just making sure that your server is connected with your server URL and your application ID. Don't use this one because it may well have deleted by the time that I get here. We don't need to talk through every line of code in this JavaScript file, but it's really just saying that the first block is to redirect a user if they're not logged in, redirect them to the sign-in page. And if they are logged in, then perhaps it goes to the dashboard. The login function is straightforward. Moralis code that then produces some extra actions once they've authenticated, but a single line of Moralis code for that. The logout function is much the same. It's just a single line of code with an action afterwards. We have a render content, which is to just flick between whenever you click one different page. It just hides everything else and just shows you what you need, so it's not all shown in one continuous block. Hide content, show content, simple functions. Milliseconds to time and fix URL are functions within the wallet application. Clearing the content is straightforward. Getting the ERC20 metadata was a function that's not really needed, but I built it out just to help you if you're unsure of how to get certain information from an ERC20 token. You could use this. So for example, you could type in Rinkeby and you could type in link. Say you wanted chain link from Rinkeby and you needed that metadata. You can put find metadata and it would put the information into this form for you, assuming that you have that particular token in your balance. But I improved on that by just using this instead, which is just a much easier way of doing it. It just displays your balances. You pick whichever one you want, and then you click on transfer, and it will put the contract address and the decimals in here for you automatically. So this function is, if you like, deprecated. Get transactions was one of the earlier parts. Get native balances and get ERC20 balances was an earlier function. Get NFTs. Again, that's all this kind of top side up here. And as for the ones we're looking at today, it's a bit further down under the transfer function. So transfer ETH, it's mainly one line of Moralis code with some options. And the options object that you pass in requires the type, which is, in the case of transferring ETH, you're transferring a native token. So the type would be native. The amount is however many they want to transfer, and we need to then use a utility function to convert that to way, and then the receiver's address, which we would get from the form. So that would be that. Once that line of code has come back, there will be an alert that just simply says transferring however many ETH to the requested address. Okay, so that's the simple function. Transferring ERC20 is a bit more involved, but again, it's a single line of Moralis code, and it takes some options. And the parameters will be these, and we can get all of that information from whatever the user puts in. The type must be ERC20 in lowercase, otherwise it won't work. And then once you have that, you'll be able to transfer ERC20 tokens unless you're not sure of the details, in which case you use this down here, this helper section down here, and this whole block is this function, get transfer ERC20 balances. And there's a few different balance calls here. The Moralis Web3 API account get token balances for the Ethereum native chain, or mainnet, should I say, Ripston and Rinkeby chains. They're the only ones I chose. You could use more if you want. And then it does some checks as to see what comes back. I pretty much ignored Ripston and ignored Ethereum and only looked at the Rinkeby. And then for each one, I cycled through them with a for each loop and created a content block which returned information from the blockchain and published it directly to the front end of our application, and then built a way of forcing that information into the input fields if they click on one of these buttons here. So guys, I hope that was useful. If it was, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. We hope to see you involved in the Discord channel and showing what it is that you're building with Moralis. And I look forward to seeing you in the second part of this tutorial where we show you how we did the transfer NFTs. Have a great day.